What's going on, guys? Kitsune TCG here, back with another deck profile, and today I'm really excited about this one because we're going to be looking at one of my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetypes in Nekroz. Now, I definitely think that this is probably the optimal way to play Nekroz currently, just because they do exist in a very, I don't want to say sad kind of like place in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta, but it is definitely disheartening to see such a, interesting archetype not really be able to do very much. In today's meta, you do have to be somewhat unfair of a deck to even, I'd say, be, at rogue level. You have to just do something really well that a lot of decks can't. And while they do that, they don't end on anything particularly threatening. It doesn't have an Omni-Negate, you don't have any good interruptions necessarily. Yes, Unicorn does negate monsters from the extra deck, and that is a very good effect. The problem is it doesn't prevent it from being destroyed. So many going second, just power spells that can negate these effects kind of make the card not as good. So, to kind of supplement that, we are definitely adding some engines that do just give you a little bit more. Adding the Libromancer engine, you are going to get that Omni-Negate that the deck really can use. And then just using some ritual good stuff, you are going to end on pretty typically a board that prevents your opponent from being able to special summon, and that is going to really kind of push them to have, the optimal number of outs to go through that board. So just taking a look first at the Nekroz cards, we do play the 3 Unicorn, the 3 Bryonic, the 2 Colossalus, the 1 Valkyrus, the 1 Trishula, 2 Kaleidoscope, 2 Cycle, and then the 1 Mirror. Taking a look at the Libromancer engine, you do have the 3 Geek Boy, the 3 Fire, the 1 Agent, the 1 Doombroker, the 3 First Appearance, and the 1 Intervention. The deck does run E-Telly, so you are going to pretty often see Geek Boy to kind of go in and start your Libromancer plays. Oftentimes, you'll have Draw on it, or you'll have Draw on Fire, or even sometimes Agent or Doombroker. Any combination of that, plus, Geek Boy or E-Telly, is going to really result in a pretty decent end board for you. From there, we do still run a little bit of an incantation engine, just because these cards are also going to be additional bodies for you to tribute off with Ruler. Plus, they are going to Kasena sometimes fix some hands, just depending on, what your hand looks like. So they are still definitely worth playing. Yes, they do lock you out of your extra deck, but that doesn't often come up very much. There's ways to get rid of them, obviously distributing them for Vanity's Ruler. So you're not really too worried about that lock. Rounding out the main deck, we do have the 3 benten, that 1 Ruler, the 3 pre-prep, and then the 3 emergency teleport. Just moving on over to the extra deck, there are just a few cards in here that are really for Kaleidoscope, because the extra deck you're not really using necessarily as things to climb into. You definitely can, but it is just a little bit there for a ritual resource for you. And because of that, you definitely do need to run at least 2 Intis. I'm just running 2 because I don't think that there's necessarily a need for more than that, especially since you're only running 2 Kaleidoscope. It's not coming up a whole bunch that you're going to be sending more than that. And I do have 2 Super Poly targets. I don't have a sideboard built for this deck necessarily, but I definitely think that Super Poly is something that should go in it. So I have included the Muddy Mud Dragon and the Dragostapelia, just because those are definitely going to be something that are actually going to be useful in today's meta. So I've got those included in there. I got the 2 Arclight. Same kind of thing with the Intis. I don't think that necessarily more than 2 is going to ever come up for you, so I think that that's a perfect number. And you're obviously going to use this to just kind of search an additional body for you, or whatever you need to kind of fix your hand. The 1 Wind Pegasus, the 1 Omega, and then the 1 Cosmic Blazer. These are really just there again for that Kaleidoscope, depending on what kind of Nekroz monsters you have in your hand. Since we do have a few number 4s, obviously in Unicorn and Fire, and with Tear Limit still being the best deck, we do have Abyss Dweller. And then just a few Link monsters. Link Disciple is something that I guess can be used, and I have seen a few of these deck profiles include it. What you're able to do is you're able to, go in with that with fire, and then, if you have like a Geek Boy or just another monster underneath it, you contribute that to draw a card if you need to dig a little bit deeper. Not really going to come up too often, but since the deck's not really using an extra deck, having something in there like that is not a problem. That would be something that if you want to change it out for something else, you can go right ahead. We do have the Cross Sheep. This deck is going to be able to take advantage of this. Obviously, sometimes if you're underneath the incantations, you can't do that. But there are often times where, you have a Geek Boy and Fire, and you can go into Cross Sheep and make use of its Draw 2, Discard 2. Same thing with why we run the Phoenix and the Unicorn. These are just kind of there, a little bit of utility, just depending on, what you're facing down and what you need. And then just something for you to end on that's a big body. We do have the Nephthys, the Sacred Flame. And that's just really kind of a big monster, because if you do use a ritual monster, depending on how many you use, it can gain additional attack. So just a little bit of a bigger body for the deck. Overall, I think it's pretty fun. I would experiment with some ratios just because I do think that the deck could benefit from running a little bit more interruption on your opponent's turn. I think without any hand traps and without any going second cards, it is going to struggle, but overall it is still a pretty fun and interesting deck, and it can, do pretty well in a kind of locals setting, which is more of what I've just kind of been experimenting with it. And I've definitely kind of enjoyed what I have seen. So let me know if there's any other deck or archetype that you'd like to see a deck profile for down below. I'm always open to suggestions. I'm just kind of been tinkering around, playing with a bunch of things, waiting for Darkwing Blast to come out. So I will see y'all next time.